been that many.
All right, we're going to call the January 20th, 2025 Emmaus Borough Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's actually kind of warm in here.
Thank you, everyone. First up is Personal Appeals Part 1. There is nobody in the audience. We have one online guest. If you have a public appeal, now is your time to make it. Unmute yourself. Hearing nothing. Next up, does anyone have a community minute to bring forward? Mr. Anders?
Yes, there was a call and a text that went out that regarding the snow delay for the trash pickup this week. It'll be picked up Friday, so put it out Thursday night for Friday pickup. And again, that's due to the weather event that we just had. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone else have community minute to bring forward? Hearing none. We have no special presentations tonight. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the January 6th, 2025 council meeting minutes? Motion by Mr. Brown. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dufresne. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? 6 ayes. Also, for the record, Mr. Manager, Ms. Baumgardner is not present. We have no decisions on bids. Under communications, the Emmaus Arts Commission sent over their Film Fest request. This is been going on since 2004, so it doesn't look like there's no alcohol, so there's nothing that we need to do for this, so I think we can just turn that over to staff. We have a resignation letter from Brandon Damitz from the as an EMT, and that is for good reasons. Can we say he's going to go back in the Army as active duty? So he's got some duty paperwork and whatnot. So that's a good reason to be resigning. We also have an application for Neil Valos for the Recs and Entertainment Commission, and he was on our last meeting for Parks and Rec, and we actually interviewed him already. So I can ask now for a motion to approve Neil Valos to the Recs Committee. Mr. Brown, seconded by Mr. Anders. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say, Mr. President, that it's good to see that somebody who did run for the open council seat did decide to fall through and do something else. So thank you very much, Neil.
Yes, that is a great point, and we expressed that as well during the interview process. Mr. Anders?
He also stayed for the whole meeting the other day just to learn a lot about the Parks and Rec during our committee meeting. He was there right to the end.
Yeah, great. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Guys. Next is Jennifer Falegi, a resignation from the library board. And that is her term ends December of 25. So I guess technically she's not on the board, but we're going to be needing to fill that board seat. And then Deborah Kirkpatrick also sent an application in for the Entertainment Commission. We interviewed her just about a half hour ago, and the recommendation out of that committee was to recommend her as well. Would someone like to make a motion to appoint Deborah Kirkpatrick to the Recs and Entertainment Commission? Mr. Brown, is there a second? seconded by Mr. Dufresne. Any discussion? I would like to say that our group in this meeting officially got 100% bigger in one meeting. So hopefully that's going to help out that commission a bunch with getting the concerts going in the Triangle and the park and all that, and continue that momentum of the fundraising and the good things that group of people are doing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? 6 ayes. We have no borough engineers report. Solicitors report.
I have no report. Most of my items are under Mr. Brown's committee, and I look forward to fielding questions from Ms. Watt and Mr. Anders about the zoning ordinance and saldo.
Thank you. Unfinished business part 1, we have none. We have no new business. Unfinished business part 2, there's nothing. Does anyone have an item that is not on the agenda they'd like to bring forward? Hearing none. Madam Mayor's report.
Thank you. On your iPads this evening, you have a new proclamation. It's Proclamation 2025-610 in recognition of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is coming up. It is January 27th. At the monthly meeting of the Executive Board of the Pennsylvania State Mayors Association, the board overwhelmingly decided to support this day, and they asked mayors across the state to participate as well. So you have the proclamation there. It is recognizing International Holocaust Day, which is January 27th, 2025. Also, the next Citizens Police Academy starts on Tuesday, February 4th. That will run every Tuesday for 8 weeks from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Progress.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we display that proclamation anywhere for public
I'm going to ask Mr. Pepe to have Jessica put it on the borough website and on the boards downstairs.
So awesome. Thank you. Next up is committee reports. We're starting off here with Public Works. Mr. Anders.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on January 13th. We do have one item for official action, and that is the approval of the compost site plan. For those of you who recall during budget time, Lawrence had presented us with some options for ideas at the compost site to add the soccer field up near the other soccer field. So he would be building one up there and replacing. There's one there that we're going to leave as open space is the idea for now. That is the field down below. And then he has other ideas for the remainder, but it would be as a phased in project. And as he is working on the field over at Lions Playground, he'll be able to utilize the material and the dirt for that to put up there for the soccer field for Phil. So if you haven't seen the plan, it is attached, but I would like to make that recommendation to approve the compost site plan as noted.
Motion by Mr. Labenberg. Is there a
No,
second?
by him. I'm seconding.
Oh, okay. You got that? I think for discussion, this went through 2 committees. This went through Public Works, and then it went through Parks and Rec. I think it was discussed all the way through. And then, a couple questions arised about the soccer field and being able to expand and have the property, have it be able to do other things besides just soccer. And looks like Lawrence has a pretty good long-term plan over there. Anybody else have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes.
And then we have several areas in our meeting notes for you to review. Shane, is there any of those that you would prefer to review from the notes there, from the PDFs?
I mean, like tonight?
Just anything that needs to be reviewed?
Oh, you're talking about the attachments?
Yes, sir.
No, not at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Now, this is for,
Just review.
yeah, council members. I would strongly encourage you to look at those other 3 attachments from our meetings that we've been having with LCA, as it's going to kind of give you a prelude to what's coming in the next few months. And and what those projected costs and things like that are going to be.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. Our next meeting is Monday, February 10th at 4:45, which will be Zoom and in person. With that, I'll report progress.
Thank you. Health, sanitation, and codes, Mr. Brown.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two items on the agenda for official action. One is the Saldo ordinance. We're going to authorize a 30-day review period to Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. And the second item is zoning ordinance, another authorization for 30-day review period to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. Before I put a motion, is it okay to discuss or any questions that other council members may have? Go ahead, Mr. Solicitor.
Mr. Brown, may I suggest that this be authorized to go to the Planning Commission again and the Zoning Board and to authorize a public hearing? That's
It's more than that, though. It also needs to go to the surrounding municipalities, the school district. I would just
authorize advertising.
just authorize advertising the 30-day review. We'll get it to where it needs to go.
Okay, sounds good. That's
All right.
a nice blanketed statement.
Yep.
All right, then, but before, the Saldo is a 145-page document. Before we make a motion on that, does anybody have questions or concerns that they want to bring up for this Saldo? All right, hearing none. The zoning ordinance is a 201-page document. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about that document?
Just what major changes there were. Because
Oof,
I didn't
That's a
see,
long list.
I didn't see highlighted areas. So for me to read 200 pages, I don't know what it was versus what it is.
Yeah, it's a completely rewritten
It's-
document
it's-
from current.
It is brand new compared to the current zoning ordinance. There's a lot. It's basically brand new.
It has, from my understanding, when I took over the task, we even revamped it even more to when you first originally had it for the revision under the previous contractor, the consultant that had it. So we changed and removed some things out of there.
So who essentially made all these decisions? Where was it mostly done?
So they had a
Task force
force,
meetings.
task force, 10 people, 12 people, something like
It would
that.
vary.
When you say they,
Uh,
they is us?
They is the borough and people from within the community. So there were engineers involved, planning commission members, landlords, community members,
Former council people.
former council members, different, a couple of different business owners, I think were on the task force, right? So,
So this was back in 2023. Last time I was on, we almost passed it in December, if I remember correctly. And then a few individuals came up and addressed some very valid points in it. Those individuals who addressed the valid points were included in all the meetings since then.
yes.
Okay.
Those individuals were part of the task
I
force.
would hope
Yeah.
that, and I know Shane, you had told me
Yeah.
yes, but I just want to get that on record. So they're a
Yep.
part of it.
And this was recommended for you to start the process after the last planning commission meeting for both zoning and Saldo.
So
The
an
Saldo was less contentious than the zoning.
yeah, so an understanding that this, if you approve today, you're not approving adoption of the ordinance. So it gives you yourself the opportunity to read, make comments, ask more questions. And then what'll happen, actually, Mr. Solicitor, if you can kind of explain what happens.
The reason I was saying to Mr. Brown about the advertising, because you specifically under the code, Shane's talking about the intermunicipal agreements that you have to give them notice. I was talking about what's under the zoning ordinance and the planning and the Saldo of this, the MPC. You have to do 30 days notice to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission and your own planning commission to make comments. There are some, with respect to the comprehensive plan, some obligations you have. That's what Shane was talking about. And then you also have to do a public hearing that's subject to the 7 and 30 rules. So it has to be advertised no more than 30 days before the adoption, no less than 7. So this is timed, so you guys can recommend it tonight. Public hearing would probably be at either the next ordinance or at the next meeting or at your meeting where you're going to adopt it, which is possible. And then we would also want to see what those comments are coming back from LVPC and your planning commission. Now, your planning commission has already recommended approval of these. I believe it was 6-1. So that's where we are.
Last time the planning commission was a lot closer than that, correct? Wasn't that part of the issue last time?
Yes,
Okay. So now it's 6-1.
there's one singular holdout.
Okay. Okay.
And just some commentary. I believe that individual does not want any changes at all. I think that's a fair state. I think they wanted to keep the same ordinance.
But there's more consensus now on.
Much,
Yeah.
Okay,
much more. And on the task force.
okay.
Yeah, it seemed like we really hammered out some issues. One, Mr. Liebenberg, that we brought up off the top of my head were two things. Was parking was an issue that we brought up. So if you would build an apartment building that have multiple units, you are allowed to have two parking spot, or we were mandating two parking spot. Now we're at one and a half. So usually it
So
works
how
out
do you get a half?
Well, so the idea
It dep-
is
for multiple
if
units.
there's 20 units in the apartment, you multiply that by 1.5.
There's 30 spots.
That's how many spots you
Right,
have to
instead of
Thank you.
40.
And it's funny that you brought it up because that's the only thing I was concerned about is, if somebody builds a unit in an alley, are they pushing out the parking somewhere else? So
And there was a
That
lot of
was brought
debate
up.
about it being less. You know,
We wanted, yeah,
Somebody suggested one.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just don't want to see people that have been living in a neighborhood for their whole life. I mean, we have residents that have been here 60, 70 years in the same house. And then all of a sudden find a situation where they can't get parking in front of their house because of development. And I don't want to see that.
Exactly to your point of the sprawling going, that parking going to other streets. That was exactly brought up by Brent Reed and Mr. Gibson as well.
Thank
Like
you.
specifically for that.
And Mr.
And then the other item was the height of buildings in different districts as well. They can go a little higher.
And Mr. Ott did go through those items and made those changes because that's an engineering change, not necessarily an attorney change. So he did make that modification.
And when you say a little higher, the original version had them higher than what this final version is.
We actually reduced it.
We
from
actually
five to
reduced.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yes,
we actually
correct. Thank you
reduced
for
from the original
came
version.
down.
Yeah.
Is it
In
usually what, two stories?
No, you're talking
Urban-
55 feet in
Urban,
some of the districts.
yeah,
In like the
Urban-
downtown district especially.
urban
So
core,
three stories?
four.
Four
4 or 5. And if you do the top of the building, you can almost get 6 with a penthouse.
I know we can't quote unquote force people to speak at a public hearing, but could we try to get the individuals who brought up all the issues in the past since they were in a task force to talk that night and tell about, because again, like Mr. Levenberg, that's a lot of pages and I can read it, but that's not my area of expertise. They made sense to me that night in December 2023. So if I'm no issue with engineers, lawyers, CPAs, they were talking like regular language that I could understand in it. So that would be helpful.
I can reach out and invite them.
To go on top of that, I actually did try to look at some of it and the charts and the numbers there, I was lost.
Yeah, well, so we were lost until we pulled out a calculator and realized that the contractor was wrong on their calculations, which was
Setbacks.
one of the reasons why it took as long as it did, because our attorney had to and our engineer had to literally go line by line from what that former contractor did, and we had to recalculate and revise, and that was discovered
right before
we considered adoption, that there were all sorts of calculation errors by
That would have been
by
a
that
disaster.
contractor. So yeah, so that's all been again redone, reformatted.
I saw a large section on signs also.
There's a lot on signs.
Is there a lot more restrictions?
I think reading over it and being part of that process, I think there's it holds a little bit more of a consistency, and it really updates a lot of the things that people are constantly going to the zoning hearing board about, whether it's a front lit, a backlit, the size, the placement. It really gets it's a lot more clear what people can do versus going to the zoning hearing board and putting the fate of a decision that way. I think this is going to create a lot more consistency.
Okay. Are other people grandfathered in?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, there'll be
So-
no change on stuff
right,
like that.
that's
It'll
fine.
be just
And then
reviews.
my only other thing, a lot of municipalities, I think of the car dealerships, they call it light pollution where it's shooting up into the sky. is there anything addressing that because of all the car dealers and just where the lights
Yep.
are shooting
So
wherever?
The answer to that is yes, but that's not necessarily a zoning issue. That's more of a planning issue. So new construct, you actually, this is tied together with the grandfather question you asked. So if it's already existing, they don't have to change it. They are grandfathered in for zoning. For planning all new modifications, though, they're going to have the downward facing lights. That was actually something that got raised back in May of last year, I believe. So those, they now have to have that angular.
Yeah, instead of shooting out or
Yeah.
up.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns right now? Nothing? All right, then I'll make a motion. Should I do these separate or you want them blanketed? We'll just do them separate then.
It's
A
up
mo-
to you. You can do them both at one time.
All right, we'll do it both. Make a motion then to
Yeah, this is just-
authorize the borough manager and the solicitor to advertise for 30-day review to every entity that is needed. This is Saldo ordinance and zoning ordinance.
A motion by Mr. Brown. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anders. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed?
All right, moving on is tomorrow is at 4:45 here in the conference room is our next meeting. We're going to be discussing Anytime Fitness request for their parking lot to be expanded. And also we'll continue our talks stemming from CRD again, and the budget talks at what our vision is for the Department of Zoning. What our vision is, what our agenda is, what it's going to look like, any ideas that would add or subtract to the department and things of that nature. And we should hopefully have some information to come back to Ms. Watts' CRD committee to, again, propose more information. So besides that, progress.
Thank you. Next up is Parks and Recreation. Myself, the only thing that we have nothing for official action. We took care of everything under communication. Our meeting that we had on January 16th, we started to set some goals for the year. Shane and Lawrence were over there. If you guys want to know some more information on schedule and stuff like that, we can share the parks schedule with opening of the pool, getting the pool ready, and a lot of the other things that Lawrence does in spring. He has a pretty robust schedule. I don't think he's going to have any issues meeting any of those deadlines. I think the big thing is making sure that we can get the pool holding water. Lawrence did a little bit of research, reached out to a couple of different contractors, and one of our contractors that does all of our curb cuts had some recommendations for some material for that big crack that's in the middle. They're going to saw cut that thing out and see if they can't get that, holding water and staying more permanent. So I thought that was some good news. Hopefully that can save us a lot of money and keep that pool up and going. Our next meeting is February 20th at 4:45. And with that, I'll report progress. Next up is public safety. Ms. Baumgardner is not here. I will give the committee report. Our meeting was on January 8th. We have two things for official action tonight. One would be reauthorizing the police department to start their hiring process again. As you know, it's a very long and very painstaking process that we can hopefully pick up a new officer. We do have one opening with the recent resignation of that new hire, and that is what we're looking to fill. And they're just looking for the green light to be able to restart that process.
So if I may.
Yeah.
You by law have to have a civil service list. You do not have one right now. Okay, it's exhausted. We had one person on it. You hired him. He resigned within a couple weeks. So you're actually required by civil service law to establish a hiring list. Whether you decide to hire or not, you're still required to go through the process. So it's actually a matter of law. Mr. Ulrich can confirm that we have to start the process. So we have to keep an ongoing civil service list. And so what we're asking is that you authorize the Civil Service Commission to begin that process once again.
And as Mr. Pepe pointed out, this is not actually, you're not hiring an officer. You're simply refreshing and refurbishing your list so it's available should you decide to move forward with the process. That list is good for 1 year.
I'd like to make a motion to begin the civil service police hiring process.
A motion by Ms. Watt. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Anders. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 6 ayes. Thank you. The next is to accept a donation from Motors Plus. The police department was looking for, I guess, an opportunity arose for them to acquire a vehicle, and we'll leave it at that, to be able to do some different things with it. And since it's donation, all of council needs to approve and accept the donation. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the vehicle donation? Motion by Mr. Dufresne. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Labenberg. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 6 ayes. Our next meeting will be February 12th at 9 a.m. And that meeting, if anyone would like to attend, is typically in person, but it is also available on Zoom. Next up is General Administration. Mr. Labenberg.
Yes, we had our first meeting of the year last Wednesday, and there's nothing to take action on. You can see what we discussed in the meeting minutes, and our next meeting is February 12th, 9 a.m. Progress.
Thank you. Next up, Budget and Finance, Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. President. You can see the list, the checklist in there in the bill memo. And we have one item for action. It's the bill list. Resolution 2025-3 resolved by Borough Council to authorize payment of the January 20th, 2025 bill list as follows. Bill list $443,182.68. Payroll number 1, $226,895.52. Payroll taxes, $82,006.63 for a total of $752,084.83 done this 20th of January, 2025. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Dufresne. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Watt. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? 6 ayes.
You can see the significant revenue expenses for the first half of January and also the meeting minutes. So unless there's any questions, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 5th at 11 a.m. in person, and it's also available on Zoom. So progress.
Thank you. Next up is Community Relations Planning and Development, Ms. Watt.
At our meeting on January 7th, we started to establish a procedure by which we would start to make a 3-year plan. And next week we'll start meeting. So we've got some real momentum. I'm very excited about that. Our next meeting, committee meeting, is Tuesday, February 4th at 4:45. Progress.
Thank you. Under boards and commissions, we have none. But I would like to make a note, and Mr. Pepe, I think, could elaborate on it a little bit. The library board had a new director recently start, correct?
Yeah. Let me see what their name is.
I don't know that was actually announced publicly yet. But I think last Monday, I think, was her first day.
Yeah, there is a new library director. Her name is Allison Flore. She began last Monday, and she comes to us from the Parkland Library. Also, last week, we also have a new adult services librarian, Christine Weeder. So welcome aboard to both of them.
Yeah. So, council members, you're out and about, stop in the library and introduce yourselves. And next up, we have personal appeals part 2. If anyone in the audience has a personal appeal. And no. And then online, anyone have a personal appeal? You have 5 minutes for your appeal. State your
Hi.
name. Please state your name and address. And if you want, you can also start your camera.
Sure, I'm gonna try. Last time it didn't let me.
Okay.
Hold on, yeah, hold on just a second. I will, I think I have to
Allow it.
change the permission for you. Okay, so you can go ahead and try it now.
All right, give me 1 second.
Might have to ask it again. She muted herself again. She might not be able to unmute herself.
Okay,
Oh,
I
here we go.
cannot.
There it is, so help you
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I think you had to undo
There
it.
you
And then
go.
you can say yes.
Oh,
Nope.
all right, we'll try one
Rats
more time.
everything. Okay.
There you go. Click on it.
I don't think it worked.
We'll try it one more time.
I'm sorry.
No, it's a great thing when it works. We had some computer issues earlier today.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like we can get the camera to work. If you could just state your name and your address, and then you have
Sure.
5 minutes.
Hi, Megan Brem, 944 North 7th Street Circle. Trying to be more present at these things, making sure I'm paying attention. I just had a couple questions. The Saldo and zoning ordinance, that's a 30-day review. Will that also be available to the public, or is it already on the website?
Yeah, so there's a version on the website, as soon as, so since council approved us to start the review today, we will update that tomorrow and put on the website
Okay.
the newest versions that we received last week from the solicitor.
Okay. And will you be doing like a text or email blast about these being available? I think if you want community input, you got to blast this stuff out. If people aren't looking at the website, but if you email it or send out a blast text message, people are going to look at it. and
Yeah,
they're
so
gonna
we
have an
did.
opinion.
Yeah, we did last time. Our plan is to do it again this time.
Okay.
And there will be a public hearing advertised as well.
Will that be on the borough's website?
Yep.
Okay. The cost share for LCA in Klein's Island, will those costs be available on the borough's website, or do we need to do a right to know to see those?
I can't give them to you yet. They're not public yet.
So they're not publicly available yet. So right,
They will be.
Yeah.
They have to present them publicly to us soon.
Okay.
But they're not available to us publicly yet.
And then, but the answer to our question is they would be.
They would be, yes.
They would be available.
We can give you publicly what they've presented at the council meetings previously, which I think we
Sure.
posted up here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
I've seen those.
yeah, their new revised cost. They're
Okay.
not publicly released yet to us.
And is the draft plan that's being sent to DEP, is that available?
So
So that's not a question I know the answer to. Maybe
the
solicitor
answer
knows.
to that is it may be. It depends on where they are in the process with DEP, where LCA is with DEP. They probably do have one form of the plan there, but it's probably not the current one. You can make that right to know request to the state agency, which would be the Department of Environmental Protection. It could also be
Sure.
with a federal request to the EPA. They may have a copy of it as
She
well.
could do it with LCA too. They're a public entity.
They are, but
Oh.
LCA may not. It may not be internally to them available, but
Right.
DEP would have it.
Sure.
Okay.
So you could.
Thank you.
That would be my recommendation if you're trying to get a copy of that. But it is a formidable set of documents. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Understood. Okay. And lastly, I love that you're looking to do a 3-year plan. And if you need any community input, I'm willing to help. So if you need my information, I'm here. I have experience in community development. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you, Ms. Brem. Once we get to the sort of outward facing portion, I will reach out to you. First, it turns out this will be quite a process, but when we get to an appropriate place for public input, I will absolutely come to you.
Yeah, I also think, Ms. Brame, though, our CRD committee meetings is
Mhm.
where they'll be doing the bulk of their debate and discussion. So you can feel free to attend any and all of those.
Mhm. I couldn't
And
be
so
at the
you'll-
last one, unfortunately, but moving forward, I plan on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, like Mrs. Watt had said, I'm not sure, at the next meeting, I'm not sure how much progress they'll have had made yet, but you'll at least be able to participate in the public portion and listen to what their debate and discussion is regarding, the progress on it
Great,
at
thank
those
you.
meetings as well.
Anything else?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you getting involved. I've seen your name pop up a bunch lately on some requesting documents and stuff like that. And I just really appreciate you reaching out and getting involved and seeing how much hard work everybody puts into this.
I don't know if she got kicked off or what happened there, but
I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't hit a wrong button by accident.
I didn't touch a button.
Okay.
I didn't touch a button.
No, but she's been reaching out and
Well, and-
going through
I
the
can say it,
proper
but
way.
I'll say it publicly. I was asked by the League of Women, you know how they do that municipal boot camp for new people and for running for office? I think she was there. So they usually have an attorney and Tim Benio from the registrar's office do it.
Yeah.
And I think that was her. I'm not sure, but that's what I think it was her. So,
Back in the waiting room.
oh,
Yeah.
there she is.
Oh,
Wait, there it is.
Yeah, you can unmute her again if you want.
Sorry about that.
No, you're
Oh.
you're okay. I was just thanking you for getting involved and saw your name pop up quite a few times for rights requests and stuff like that. And it's nice to see that people are actually reading a lot of the information and appreciating a lot of the hard work that council and our the borough manager and the department heads put into, do what we do every day. So thank you for that.
It is hard. I know it's hard. And I can only be a part of it and try to encourage my neighbors to do the same. So
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Did I meet you at the boot camp for the League of Women Voters? Was that you?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right. I thought your name looked familiar.
Yes, that was me.
Okay.
Awesome.
But thank you all.
Yeah, no, thank you. And if you have nothing else, we'll close public comment.
That's all I have.
Thank you. So next up is Borough Manager's report.
yeah. So we only have one thing for you this evening. As you know, you hired a number of public works employees, kind of boom, 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 right in a row. So the last couple months, you've voted to retain individuals that have been completing the probationary period. The next one, and I think he's our very last hire, is Benjamin Harrison. You see Mr. Carl's letter to you. Again, great new hire, doing a great job, fitting in very well. So our recommendation is for council to retain Benjamin Harrison as a full-time public works employee.
Someone like to make a motion? Motion by Mr. Anders. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Lavenberg. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Yeah, so the only other thing I would mention tonight is yesterday was the very first snowstorm that many of our public works employees have ever dropped a plow for. If you recall, like last year, I'm not sure that we even used more than your shovel for snowfall. So any employee that's really been hired since, 2022 probably hasn't plowed for us. So this was their first snowfall overall. We think they did a really good job. Some little nuances that our I guess recently retired employees would have taken care of, some things in some back alleys and things like that were missed a little bit that we had to go back and hit again, or just some little kind of tricks that over the years I'm sure a couple of them met their first manhole cover. And if you've never been in a plow truck, meeting your first manhole cover is not it's exhilarating, but it's not fun because it hits hard. But overall, we're very happy with the job they did for their first snowfall, and you can see our streets are pretty clear for the most part.
So from our last meeting, from what I saw, maybe I just wasn't looking close enough, there wasn't any brine down, correct? Not that I saw this time.
No,
And the roads are really clear right now, so we should just keep that in mind going
and so
forward.
we salted the entire town instead.
We should just keep that in mind because I think the roads are pretty good.
Yeah, we salted the entire town first.
And I'll add to that because I'm one block from Salisbury and their roads were not as clean as ours. And I give compliments to my neighborhood where they plowed. I have a circle there, so they have extra work with the circle. And there was the large dump truck, there was the medium-sized dump truck, and then there's the pickup. And I call them the Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. So they were all in my neighborhood doing that circle.
Mr. Lavenberg, please don't pick on Salisbury Township.
Well, in this case, I observed it.
That's great, especially with the low temperatures.
Right.
So,
Well, and so that's the thing that we need to warn people of and be careful. I just got a notice just a few minutes ago. My kids already have a 2-hour delay for
Yeah.
tomorrow.
yeah, Penn School District as well.
And I'm sure what they're anticipating is one, the very low temperatures, but two,
Ice.
from the salt melting
Ice.
the roads, there's a lot of wet roads that can turn into ice very quickly. So I think just be careful of the black ice, overnight and into tomorrow.
Anything else, sir?
I think that's all.
Yep. Under President's business, I don't have anything. There is no executive session tonight. Would someone like to make a motion for adjournment? Motion by Mr. Lavenberg. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dufresne. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned at 6:42.
So
You guys had a chance to make the mayor work again and you chose not to tie it.